I'm going to call this meeting to order, and we have the minutes from October 11th, and then our special meeting that we had on October 23rd.
I'll move that we approve the minutes from October 11th. We should do them separately or together?
I think everyone was there.
Okay,
Yeah.
and October 23rd.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Let's see, then we have warrants for payment. We have warrants 9, the payroll 9P, we have the rec board number 2, and conservation commission number 5.
I'll move that we approve warrants 9, 9P, Conservation Commission number 5, and Rec Board number 2.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? So, under warrant 9, the grand total is $7,969.66. Most of that, or let's see, not most of it, but the big chunks were payroll transfers, highway department purchasing some parts, Green Mountain Power, some fuel, the milling of the paving, or when they removed the old pavement, the milling of that, that was just under $2,000. So, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Any comments from the public at this point?
No, I'm here for another item on
Okay.
the agenda that you invited me to.
Sure. Okay, that's what I thought, but I was just giving you the
Thank you.
option. All right, we do not have a road foreman here today, so I don't think we have a road foreman's report. Now, do you want to jump ahead and we have under new business appointed interim select board member, or do you want to slog through our correspondence for information?
I suggest, for the benefit of those here, that we move the appointment of the select board member up in the agenda.
Okay, is that
Sounds like a good idea to me.
Yeah, I don't object.
okay? We did get letters of interest from a number of well-qualified candidates. We've interviewed some, and what would you like to do?
Well, I think it's worth saying that we had 6 very well qualified candidates step forward.
Yes.
And I think that that's really, you know, we're most fortunate that that was the case. So appreciate
Yeah.
everybody that did indeed express an interest. We had I will just put this out there, we had a broad ranging, discussion at our last meeting. I wrote an email that I circulated to the folks that we did not interview, and it appeared that we would be facing a difficult decision. I think that that's fair to say. There are, although we get along, there are, we do disagree on certain points. And subsequent to that, and it's worth saying also that the statutes give us broad discretion in appointing. We do not need to interview any applicants. The board can just go ahead and appoint a new member. And it was really just only very recently Maria Glayback expressed interest in serving, and we just spoke with her. And I think what Maria brings is, a lot of experience budget-wise, and a lot of experience having worked with the board, and I think in her own way, Maria would, as I think maybe she just said, sort of carry out Steve's legacy, and I think that Maria is somebody that I think that we could all rally behind, and as such, I guess I would nominate Maria Glayback to serve as to fulfill the remaining portion of Steve's term. And that is a motion.
I'll second that motion then.
Okay, any discussion?
I
Okay,
mean, is there any, I mean, I guess our meeting Monday is all public record, I mean, so we
Yes.
need to discuss that, was, I guess now it's on the public record,
Yeah.
right, so.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that Maria has really served us well, and so we have experience with her, and that it's the sort of smoothest transition into this period of time. So I'm definitely supportive of it.
okay. Any more discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Okay.
It's unanimous. So I'd like to thank everyone who did offer to
Yeah.
serve.
That's getting, the amount of interest we had was very surprising and from very good people that have
Yeah,
all participated in things in the town.
right, I think,
All 6 of them,
think yeah, it was great. So I'd like to welcome our newest select board member.
I think you need
The
to move,
select board members usually sit up at the
Sit at the
table.
table?
Yeah.
better move the phone so we don't trip and then.
Oh, you've got these things to sign. Take that out. So, okay, welcome. Welcome.
Yes.
Welcome.
All right, so back to our regularly scheduled format with correspondence for information. Is there anything there that you want to discuss?
The other thing I'll bring up, and we can just put it on next 2 weeks from now if we need to, but that municipal road management for decision makers conference up in Montpelier, which I think talks. It's not on there now, but it's
Okay.
in the folder.
All right,
I'll just say it if when it gets added on. If I'm not, I'll be willing to go to that unless someone really has a burning desire to do that.
Okay.
So I don't know if that was going to be added or if it got stuck in too
that
late.
just came in, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we'll add that to the next.
sure.
Okay.
And it's what, December?
So it's December 6th, and we have time. You don't have to actually have your, you don't have to register for the thing until I think mid-November, maybe even towards the end of November. So,
Mhm.
unless somebody else sees that and wants
No,
to jump on.
Yeah.
For now, I can
I
do
know that I would lean towards certainly approving you going to that.
It's going to be more of that Act 64 stuff. Is what it's going to be about. So.
Okay.
Sorry, I
Well,
thought it wasn't
we'll
on
keep
there.
that on an upcoming agenda, or it'll be officially in the packet
Okay.
our next meeting. Anything else there? Yes, Paul.
Well, I noticed under correspondence and I did offer information or for discussion, that you and I had some discussion, correspondence, and I believe I corresponded to the entire board. So, didn't it go out, it's sort of gone out to the Dummerston Selectboard at .org, which you all
Yeah.
did.
Yep. It did.
Yeah,
Everybody
we
got it.
received it.
We
Yes.
we made the agenda up
Here.
on Friday. We included it in our packet, so we've all reviewed it,
Yeah.
and then thought we would, discuss it during under new business. That's
Right,
what
well, I
think
see
we're
it,
going
I
to.
see it there, it's just not listed as correspondence
Right,
that
right.
occurred.
Right, I think it came to us. What day? did it
Well,
come?
probably a couple of days ago.
Yeah. So we generally set the agenda on Friday, or we write out the agenda. We try to make additions, but so we did include it in the packet, and
I just think for
plan on
public
discussing
information
it.
purposes,
Yeah.
that was the only reason I brought it up.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Okay.
Mhm.
Anything else under that? Okay. Do you then on to new business again?
Mhm.
If you want, we can just skip our budget discussion and the census forms and go right into the discussion of the open meeting laws and executive sessions and the letter that we received from Paul Normandy.
Do you want to?
Well, I think it does. We'll let Paul address this, and then I've got some. I'll just see where that goes because I have some stuff for all of us for the public meeting or the open meeting law. I mean, it's always good to review things. So.
Well, what prompted the my letter was that, or my email, was in reviewing your last meeting where you went into executive session for purposes of, you went in under the auspices of personnel, and for just to set the record straight, I don't think there is any category called personnel per se. But at the time, I was under the, and I looked at all of the items that delineated under the reasons for going into executive session, and it didn't seem to be appropriate to go in to organize or reorganize the board. Now, in the interim, Zeke checked with VLCT, got a ruling or an opinion from VLCT indicating that it could be done under quote-unquote appointments. And it just still didn't set right with me in the sense of open government and transparency. It seems like executive sessions should not be used to aid in the comfort of the board's discussion. It should be used in those matters that are highlighted in the beginning of the Title I. It said, after making a specific finding that premature general public knowledge would clearly place the public body or a person involved at a substantial disadvantage. Now that's sort of the prelude to the items under which you can go into executive session. And I sort of, I should state that we contacted the Secretary of State's office too, and they agreed that it wasn't illegal to go in under appointments, that you could construe it that way. They said it just seems a little, they weren't issuing a ruling, but they said it just seems kind of a little pushing it, in other words, not necessary, not really necessary to do that. And so I keep coming back to that section that I highlighted when I emailed it to you, which I just read, which is also part of the Title I, Section 313, Chapter 5, Section 313, called executive sessions. And I also refer to some training that I've had with Vermont League of Cities and Towns, and I have, matter of fact, I have some information here, a training session that I went to last year. And in the training, they seem to indicate that you should be using it sparingly. You should be using it only, when it puts the town or someone in an awkward, at a disadvantaged position, like contractual relations, personnel evaluations, and they list 8 or 9 things where you can do it. So my concern was more or less open and transparent government, and not creating the impression, not having the board create the impression that, we're doing this stuff in secret. And, not that I'm saying what you did is illegal, I don't think it is at this stage. At first I thought it might have been, and I'll admit that. But then after reading Zeke's response but then talking with Secretary of State's office, I don't think it's illegal, but I don't think it's appropriate, and I just wanted to bring that to the board's attention.
If I may, I'm the one that moved that we go into executive session, and
And I wasn't trying to pick on anybody.
no, I understand, Paul, and I'll be quite honest. It never occurred to me that it might not be appropriate. Whenever we have appointed someone, to committees or for any purpose, we've gone into executive session, so that we could speak candidly and before the decision is made. Well,
Not always, no.
well, okay,
Okay.
often anyway. And I think we went, and I'm very sensitive to your concern, Paul, but as I recall, we went the better part of a year, without going
We went to a
into,
year and a quarter.
without ever going into executive session.
I'm proud of that.
So I was relieved when I saw in the statute, again, never having considered the matter, that indeed we could go into executive session to discuss the appointment of a public official. I actually got the green book out, after the green book's after your email. Public official is not defined in the statutes.
Right.
However, I guess the opinion from the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, clarifies that indeed we are all public officials, which is, it almost goes without saying. And the purpose, and understand, I hope you have some sympathy for the fact that we were all grieving over Steve's untimely passing, and the whole purpose of, that executive session was to discuss the appointment of the vice chair of this board. I don't think there was anything especially confidential that was discussed in that meeting, but I felt then and feel now that it was appropriate to have that discussion in executive session.
I guess I would disagree, but, we respect each other's position.
Mhm. Yeah, I would. I mean, clearly the reason we went in under that was an acceptable reason, and whether it's, I don't think we initially knew when we were going in exactly, other than it was a personnel issue, which you're right, that's not actually one of the terms, but
Right.
I don't think any, maybe uncomfortable, you can use that, maybe using some discretion, you can use that as well. It was an unusual circumstance, but just to clarify, when you go through that, Paul, though, and I appreciate this, when I first got it, I was kind of like, okay, here's another 10 hours that I'm going to spend doing something that I would rather do other things, but
Well, no, I understand.
yeah, but I got to be honest with you, it was a great refresher, I mean, I've looked at this pretty in depth, initially, particularly, previous things I did where we also had the quasi-judicial, which fits under there, but just because I don't want to create extra work for us as this goes along, but I think we can tighten up how we do it. But the fact of the matter is that when you talk about that, there's 10 things listed under when you can go into an executive session, and only the first one with categories A through F under number 1 require the actual wordage of premature general knowledge or premature general public knowledge would clearly place the public body or a person involved at a substantial disadvantage. And I think you brought it up in your email. When you're going to use number 1, it's actually, you want to do it as a 2-motion thing. You want to use that one,
Right.
and then you want to kind of give a bit of a descriptor.
Right.
For 2 through 10, that requirement does not exist. What VLCT does through their educational material is they recommend you just say something to the effect of, I move we go into executive session as provided in Vermont statutes, Title I, Chapter 5, you list all the numbers. And then you would just go, like for us on Joe's example, would have just been to discuss an appointment of a public officer. That would have been appropriate. But there's, beyond that, for 2 through 10, there's no real requirement other than you should, in fact, like you did point out, note the statute, note the 313.
Three is the appointment or employment or
Yeah,
evaluation.
but you would say, Vermont Title I, Chapter 5, 313 under executive sessions, I'm going to go to A2. This is why I would like to go to executive session, just to make it public to everybody. But only number 1 requires the lengthy verbiage of the double motion, not 2 through 10.
Okay,
So,
but it's still, it's still, my conception of transparency and perception on the part of the public is such that you shouldn't just kind of go in willy-nilly.
Yeah.
And it's
Right.
not a place to go because I'm more comfortable discussing the issue behind closed doors than I would be out in the public. That's why they pay you the big bucks.
Yeah, right. I'm fine with everything you've said. I agree with you on the different sections, but I take issue with your willy-nilly
Okay.
comment. That was insulting.
I know,
Frankly.
I'm
Under
sorry.
the circumstances that we went into executive session, I take offense at that.
Well, I'm terribly
Okay.
sorry,
All right.
but,
So, but I do agree with you otherwise that I think we have, we tend not to go into executive session for frivolous discussion. And we have a pretty good track record, but I appreciate that you called us on this one. In retrospect, I think we could have done it in open session and, come to the same, and done it just as well. But I think it's a good reminder, and I've been, actually before we got your email, I had been reviewing the open meeting laws because I had questions whether we had needed to actually go into executive session about it. So and so when we do go into executive session in the future, we should,
Right.
do
Yeah, we
quote
could
the
definitely
statute
tighten up a little bit.
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
tighten up and
well, that was
no
essentially.
more for personnel issue. We should be more specific.
Mhm.
That was essentially the purpose of my writing, and I didn't mean to imply that you went into executive session willy-nilly. I think if my sentence in context was that you shouldn't go in for just on a, because I feel better doing it
Mhm.
basis. So I'm sorry if you're offended. It was not my intention to do that to
Mhm.
you or to the board,
Okay.
but I wanted to bring the issue up.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that you did.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Good
Have a good evening.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just share, I had this Ian Kilby, I had the opportunity to videotape Secretary of State in Brattleboro just recently under his Transparency 2017 tour, and he dedicated the first half of his presentation on open meeting law. So I would recommend it to anybody, to the public or alike. So that again is Jim Condos, I believe,
Mhm.
Secretary of State Transparency 2017. And it was specifically focused first on open meeting and then on public
Okay.
records. And
So that's on the BCT website then.
yeah, it's just a very useful resource.
Yeah.
I would share with anyone to be aware of, and I apologize for interrupting.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, if you so we'll wrap it up here. Let's see. If he has,
You made copies for us?
yes.
Thanks,
This
I
is just,
appreciate
and
that.
it's a start, and that's
Yeah.
just you get to read my chicken scratch.
Thanks.
And then this one is just a reminder of the types of meetings we have. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
I know you all burn wood, so if you have to, you can start your stoves with that. But
Right.
No,
And-
I really appreciate this.
Right, and, yeah, I guess there's another email that you sent out that had another, from the Secretary of State's office.
right, those two I didn't print those out, but
Okay.
one was just the guide to open meetings
Mhm.
from when the law was revised last, and then there's actually this great fact that
Yes, that was
describes our scenario in detail, like most frequently asked question things do. You could read. I'd be happy to share with you if you need it.
Appreciate the homework you do.
Okay, so let's see if we can go another year and a quarter without a
Yes.
executive session. So, still under new business. Let's see, since we're not following the order exactly, let's, okay, the budget discussion. I wanted to just bring it up. We have to send out a letter to all our boards and commissions and the road foremen that we are going to need some, their budgets for the next fiscal
Your
year.
budget requests.
Yes, budget request, that's right. And I'm just wondering if we should give them some guidance on that in as far as we may suggest that our goal might be to level fund the budget as much as we can, and but I wanted to get other people's thoughts on that.
I sort of wonder if we even need to say that. Is it assumed?
Well, I think
Thanks.
the first year I was on the board, on the select board, I think there was some, not a windfall, but some money that came over from the previous year,
Yes,
and we
yes,
were in a
yes.
different position,
Yep.
and so although the years might seem similar to residents, you know, the detail of it might actually be a little different. So there might be a reason to say something. I mean, I think people tend to feel that everything always needs to be level funded. We can't go up, we can't go up. So, you know, I don't think it hurts to say something so that we're being true to what is actually happening and not making people assume things. I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could say that. I mean, I think as we get in the budget discussion, I mean, we're gonna, you know, we have employees that, you know, it's another
Yeah,
year.
I
that,
would-
you know,
That,
What are the-
employees'
You know.
compensation and non-discretionary
Right.
funding, like
Well,
insurance bills, that's not
yeah,
something we.
but as far as equipment or capital fund and things like that, is that, or just the commissions, like the cemetery
yeah.
committee, you know,
Yes.
you got X
all-
this last year,
yes,
don't ask for
The
more.
library, the cemetery committee,
Yeah.
the budget for the planning commission,
Okay.
the animal control agents,
Yeah.
all of these.
What are you
things.
saying about all of those?
No, I just want to understand what, you know, what,
Yeah,
I guess I'm already
Yeah,
thinking
I'm not.
a little further down
Yeah,
on
I'm
something,
not,
but,
I would sort of exempt, of course, you know, the road crew isn't going to send us a budget request for a raise. That's not something we're asking.
well, but hours, overtime hours, things like that, that would be in the request, which could conceivably be an
yeah,
increase.
Oh, well.
Part-time workers,
Mhm.
Yeah, we've
So,
been
I think we,
already alerted.
right, so I think we should allow them to at least present
Okay.
that to us, you know.
What do you think?
I don't think we need to remind them to level fund.
Okay, all right.
Are there any additional constraints this year that are, I mean, you mentioned insurance.
No, I don't know yet, what the.
That's research we have to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's research.
Okay.
We're in the early phase. I just wanted to know if we should, you know, set the
Mhm.
tone, but, I guess we just send it out there and see
I
what
think that's
happens.
what people expect.
Okay,
If it were any different,
all right,
Mhm.
I'm good with that then.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll just send a letter out, and would you,
Yeah, I had already, I was just waiting to put a date in.
okay,
Well, I put a date in, but
all right,
I put November 21st, Tuesday, November 21st.
to have their budget requested, yeah, great.
you're
Yeah.
ahead of us, Maria.
Okay, that's all I had on it, so.
Oh, so also though, in terms of budget discussions, were we going to ask Charlotte for a little more support?
Yeah, I think so. We could do
Than
that.
we had last year, so we, what would we like from her? What would be helpful?
I think one thing is, the training one she went to is we're going to need to talk about the is it retirement, right?
Yeah.
For anybody, if we're going to combine hours, if say a person holds 2 different jobs in the town, if it's our decision whether we combine those hours to meet a threshold for retirement contributions, I think for certainly we'll want to get that information from her, and then we'll have to decide how to go forward with that. And then the sick time that we didn't have anybody required for this year, but we're going to next year. Who would be the person that we would ask to come talk to us?
This is the new state requirements for is it sick time,
Right.
personal time,
Right.
that, and so we did pretty good. There might have been some things that we had to adjust.
Right, not
Or we
much
were-
though. I should look
Yeah,
back at
okay.
I think that was on my list of things to help us be prepared for.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until 2018 that the requirement kicks in.
Right.
But we need to know it
Yes.
in looking at the budget.
Okay.
So are we gonna expect certain printouts from her? Are we gonna expect her to
printouts.
be at our meetings?
I guess if there's a particular time when we feel like, she'd be very helpful, then we can ask her to come. Certainly, preparing some of the information that we need, background, what, having, okay, where are we in our budget now, so we can look and plan ahead would be good.
Good.
So, maybe I'll drop by and have a talk with her and
Yeah,
Mhm.
that'd be
just
great.
try to plan it out. Be ready to go. Anything else on the budget? Okay. The census forms, these have been, what's that, something, chain around that wakes me up in the middle of the night because we
And why are you nervous about it? Because you think there are things that you don't quite,
it's, let's see.
it's vague.
It's a half inch of paper that, someone has to go through. And actually, they sent us another copy, so it's only a 1/4 inch. We've gotten 2 copies. The Census Department wants us to read through all this and sign a line saying that we're going to do something or we're not going to do something. And I don't know which, because I haven't had.
Joe looks incredibly interested.
I was gonna say, is it a required census? A lot of them aren't required, they're
Yeah.
optional.
This is the LUCA. If you understand acronyms, that means something to someone. I did see that Putney signed it without too much getting invested in or discussion, but someone's got to take it home and look it over. Do you want to pick a number? I'm thinking of a number, but
Yeah. I think I need to write that number down.
Go for it, Joe.
No, I was just gonna nominate you, Gerald.
You're a good fine print person
You're-
now.
exactly.
Okay.
Okay. And it might just be,
I
You
bet
know.
it's gonna be really simple, Joe.
this might just take 5 minutes
Okay.
to look through and just say, oh yes, we just need to sign this, or we just need to put Lori Frichette's name down as the,
Or shred it, or whatever.
yeah. I might have,
Thanks,
Yeah,
Joe.
thank you,
I
Joe.
think you'll understand it.
you'll love it.
Really
I'm
quickly.
sure. Yeah.
I have something at home that I got on the census that I've ignored also, so, anyway.
I can find it. Good. All right. We've had our discussion. Anything under new business you want to discuss more? then moving on to unfinished business, we still have the Miller Fund on there.
Right, Maria, for your benefit, as I recall, you were gonna look into this right, when Steve passed away.
So I haven't.
Right, and I actually, because of that, I actually stopped at Citizens Bank 2 weeks ago, and it took them almost 2 weeks, but somebody called me at the office yesterday as I was leaving, somebody from their municipal department, and I was not aware of the ad that I gave to you, which I printed myself. I found it, that offered 1.75% for 15 months. She said they could not do that, in the municipal area. They were talking more like 1.05% for maybe a year, and I said, well, that didn't sound very attractive. I couldn't speak for the board, but I'm gonna email her that ad and ask her if it is available. She did say they do pay interest monthly. So I expect to have more information at our next meeting.
Okay. Anything else under the Miller Fund? Okay, thanks for looking into that.
Sure.
Is there any other business?
I'll just say I went to the first. I've been trying to go for a while. The first Conservation Commission meeting last night. The deer. Not enough, too many, just the right amount. One. And I was. I enjoyed it. I actually learned a lot because they had the state biologist there. They had a couple foresters there. Dean, the legislator, was there. So, now that I know hunting, fowling, and fishing is in the Vermont Constitution, so
It is in the.
it is in there. And I actually went and read the Constitution today just for fun, and it was there. But I just want to say they did a great job. I hadn't been to one of theirs before. It was well organized, well moderated. The speakers were great. It had a very good attendance there, and they put out a lot of good information. So, having not been to one of their meetings before and finally making it to one, I was impressed. They did a good
They
job.
tend to have good
Yeah.
presentations, and that is a good topic for around here.
Yes.
Yeah, I look forward to their emails too. Their emails are very informative and interesting.
Yeah. So very good turnout, from the area, and it was worth the.
Do we have too
Hour and a
many? Not enough? Just right?
Well, like many
Depends
things, there's
who you
no
ask.
agreement on that,
Yeah.
And it'd be a long discussion. I mean, hunters, landowners, guys trying to grow the right types of trees. One forester says there's too many. One forester, may say there's not enough. The state biologist says, well, we're doing our best to manage it, over wide areas and the different wildlife management areas. So, there's no, like many things, there's no there's no hard consensus on how many deer per square mile that could be supported.
Is there a, I mean, we could talk about this after the
Yeah.
meeting too, but is there a symptom that is definitely reflective of too many?
There is actually, and it's all the good wood. Like the people who want sugar maple or red oak, you're trying to grow that. The
And
deer like to
they like
browse on that,
Yeah.
and you graze on grass and you browse on trees,
Yes.
just like you prune trees, right?
Well,
And you-
well, see, I know what I'm doing. The deer don't seem to know.
Right. They don't prune. They don't prune. They browse.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yes, to answer your question, they do. They really like the sugar maple, the red oak, which tends to the trees that do survive, which aren't enough. Tend to not have the right shape and form, and therefore they
Yeah.
not as productive wood wise, I guess. And then so that's why you see so many birch and beech and things like that. So yeah, it was good. It's all how you manage it. How you manage your forest when you log it, and just the average around here. I think they're saying about 15 deer per square mile is roughly what that's what some feel that can be supported right now. Unlike back in the 60s, there were 25 deer per square mile because the landscape was much different.
Right.
Old farms that were now growing over, and the agriculture that was here. So, but yeah, different perspectives. Depends what you want. Some people are just mad because they don't see deer every time they step out their door. And
So they travel to New Jersey to go home.
but anyway, it was a very good program. I'm glad I went. So, and I'm glad I got to see the Conservation Commission and everything.
Okay, any other business? Well then, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.